We are back at it here on Fiifi-Manfred on YouTube. I am very, very grateful to have you here. Of course, the support and everything has been grateful. It has been a very, very good one. And I want to say thank you to you for everything that you've done for us. And today it's big stuff. First of all, Mauricio Pochettino seems to be getting a lot of good tidings anytime he plays against Manchester City. His first win in the English Premier League whilst he was at Southampton was against Manchester City. He tends to get results against them. There was one time in the Champions League quarterfinals, a game that was so important to Pep. I remember that game so dearly. And Mauricio Pochettino got the better of Josep Guardiola. So these two have the tendency of producing some of the best when it comes to tactical displays. I think this game is going to be one of the best tactical talk about games in recent times. So I have a big analysis for you here. You don't want to go away. My name is Fiifi-Manfred. This is Fiifi-Manfred on YouTube. Stick and stay. I have the manual tactical board here. We'll go straight into it. We'll do the analysis exactly here live on Fiifi-Manfred. If you've not subscribed to the channel, do subscribe to the channel. If you've not turned on the notification, do turn it on and do choose all. My name is Fiifi-Manfred. This is Fiifi-Manfred. A lot of people, Mauricio Pochettino's team, Chelsea, have been brilliant in recent times, especially if you look at games that they've played against the top 6 sides. Arsenal, Tottenham Hotspur, Liverpool, in recent times. They've done very well, even against Brighton and Hove Albion. Of course, Brighton is not essentially a traditional top 6 side, but they are considered to be one of the best teams in the English Premier League. So if you look at the performances that Mauricio Pochettino's Chelsea have been able to put up against this kind of teams, you begin to feel like maybe there's something in there that they can produce. And then you are probably thinking, okay, fine, then Man City is one of those people. I think that Man City isn't just a big club. Man City is a bigger club in every aspect of the game. Tactically, recruitment-wise, team building, everything. They seem to be on a notch or 2 or 3 higher than every other club in the English Premier League. So that's the only thing. If you ask yourself, how are Chelsea going to get this job done? Chelsea seem to have a plan. I think this plan is going to work against Manchester City, at least for Chelsea to get a draw in this game. And that's exactly where we're going into it. Tactically, Chelsea are on that level where they can play with teams like Chelsea, with Manchester City. You watch Arsenal versus Manchester City, and you look at how Arsenal did play. First of all, Arsenal knew that they could go toe-to-toe with Manchester City in terms of press. 3 seasons ago, they couldn't do that. So they had to be careful. They sat back sometimes in the mid-block, low block. And it didn't work out for them. They were losing consistently to Manchester City. Now you go and you look at this Chelsea team and how they've played against the big boys, quote and unquote. First of all, against Liverpool. Mauricio Pochettino tends to want to stop the big boys by mixing it up. Sometimes he presses hard. Sometimes he sits in a mid-block. Sometimes he doesn't dissipate too much energy. Sits in there and has that grand plan to bait you, especially for Arsenal. Try to bait Arsenal into the press for them to leave spaces in behind, and then he was definitely going to use the pace of his wingers to get in behind, which is also a very good tactic. Albeit against Manchester City, it's a little bit different, especially with getting in behind. He has 3 flat centre backs. So if you play with a false 9 and you bait the DMs out, most of the times you are going to deal with 2 very good wide area defenders, either of Ruben Diaz, Nathan Ake, Manolo Konji, or Josko Vardiol, who is brilliant. So those are the dynamics. I think also that Chelsea would have to be hugely physical to stand a chance in this game. The physical aspect of the game is going to be very, very important for Chelsea if they are to stand a chance. If you are not going to be physical, if you are not going to win the physical duels against City, you are not going to get a jam. In build-up, Manchester City essentially can go either building with a 4 at the back or building with a 3. In building with a 3, they can slot Ederson in between the lines to become a 4. Then they can take it from there. But now that's the question. Chelsea can deal with the press of Manchester City. They can go ahead and press in terms of blocking passing lanes, not necessarily pushing in, stacking it up and doing all the job in terms of trying to close down Manchester City. They cannot do that. But what they can do, and they probably can do it perfectly well, is to make sure that they do an excellent job in terms of central blockage. Now you go back and you watch Sevilla versus Manchester City. All the brilliant things that Diego Alonso did in that Super Cup final was use a central blockage. And that's exactly what Chelsea also did against Arsenal. He did same against Tottenham Hotspur. So central blockage is going to be very, very important for anyhow Chelsea wants to play, especially in this game, where you see the possession from outside to Manchester City and allow them to come at you whilst you close down central areas with the superiority. So it can be the numerical superiority or quantitative or qualitative superiority, which is very important. Quantitative being with numbers, having a false nine to drop in between the lines to come and help, because City will always have an inverted midfielder in that regard. That is important. These are the dynamics that may make Chelsea stand a chance against it. In game state, build up of City, build up of Chelsea, because they are going to press. Now you need some of your best press resistant players in the middle of the park. If John Stones is not playing, it means that Mateo Kovac is going to have a part to play in this game. If he does, his press resistant ability is going to be very, very important for Manchester City and everything that they do. So these are just the little dynamics, and we are going straight into how the game will be won and lost on the tactical board now. Stick on the tactical board how the game is going to be won. Yeah, so we've seen Chelsea this season go into a 4-2-3-1. My thinking is that whilst I don't think Axel de Sassi should start in this game, he's most likely going to start. Usually with Thiago Silva at the back. Robert Sanchez is going to be in pose, obviously. Now, the bigger question, however, is that do you go with Levi Cole, who is excellent on the ball in terms of build-up for Chelsea and also secured in possession, or are you also going to go with this side on the left-hand side in this area with Marco Correa, because you want Marco Correa to do a brilliant job in terms of dealing with a team and 1v1 defending from aerial threats, whether from Bernardo Silva, whoever plays in that area. How do Chelsea deal with a 1v1 threat in there? I think Levi Cole fits for this profile, regardless of how good Marco Correa is. Now, on the right-hand side is definitely going to be Captain Reece James. He embodies Chelsea. He comes with everything that Chelsea does. Of course, the telepathic relationship between Enzo Fernandez and Moise Caicedo sits here. It's brilliant stuff in there. Then Conor Gallagher plays like a 10. Over here, it's going to be important for build-up. The shuffling of the two positions, where Moise Caicedo was set to receive the ball from these two. It is most likely going to be a 3 like this. For Reece James to either come inverted, then Cole Palmer will stay. Now, if Reece James is coming inverted, it means that Cole Palmer has to keep the width, which may not happen several times because Reece James will have to come and keep the width for Cole Palmer to come inside like this for Chelsea to help with the superiorities and the quantitative superiority I spoke about. Now, this will aid in central blockade. It will also help Chelsea to form the box midfield like this. Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, and then Cole Palmer in here. And then Conor Gallagher to form a box midfield to be able to win these battles, especially with second balls in the middle of the park. Reece James can keep the width in here. Then you have Raheem Sterling on the other side. Then this is the big question. Are you going for Nicholas Jackson, or you're starting with Mihailo Modric, who is going to rotate from up top? Then you can have a false nine. It's a big question for Mauricio Pochettino. This is essentially how Chelsea are going to play. Chelsea will crowd central areas like this. Will seek to have these ball, have a lot of numbers by the ball, in close proximity, and win these balls and then play for it. Reece James, anytime Chelsea goes into the wide areas, he's always going to overlap Cole Palmer, especially in the attacking third. Once he does that, Cole will occupy the half space on the right-hand side and then makes a lot of the ball runs inside and then outside most of the time, depending on where the ball is and where Reece James is with the ball. On the part of Manchester City, now Pep can mix it up. We've seen him mix it up several times. 3 essentially at the back. I'm thinking it's going to be Josko Vardiol, Ruben Diaz, Ake or Konji, any of them at the back. Now, John Stones is injured. So the double pivot, which usually comes from the back four, somebody inverting. Most of the times it's John Stones who inverts into the middle of the pack. Most likely it's going to be Rodri, Kovacic in here. Then you're going to get... Now, the big question for Pep Guardiola is Jeremy Doku has been brilliant in terms of chance creation, in terms of dribbling and whatnot for Manchester City. Are you going with Jeremy Doku in a game like this, or are you going with Jack Grealish? I think that Pep is going to have a lot of control in central areas when he pushes up like this. When he pushes up the game like this, he's going to have a lot of control. Now, this control is going to come, one, from the right-hand side with Bernardo Silva. from the right-hand side in build-up with Bernardo Silva. In terms of build-up, when he invests like this, has three at the back. Essentially, the importance of these three centre-backs is to deal with Chelsea's wide 1v1 threats with their wingers when they come. Any of the outside centre-backs, Akanji, Ake, any of them can deal with it. Ruben Diaz, Vardiol are very good in terms of dealing with these balls from out wide. Of course, except you, Lionel Messi in that regard. Now, in the middle of the pack, this is where the dynamic is going to happen. If you are playing with Mateo Kovacic, he is press resistant. He's one of the best in terms of ball carrying ability. Now, if you have Bernardo Silva, he offers you exceptional control in the middle of the pack. Now, you watch the game against Manchester City. Whilst Jack Grealish did a lot of coming inside, it was always the off-the-ball movement of Bernardo Silva that made the difference. It's going to be key, and that is exactly why you need a defender that reads the game so well. If Mark Okera or Reece James is going to be on that wing, it's going to be on Reece James's wing. How are you going to deal with stuff like that in terms of Bernardo Silva making an overlapping run and sometimes an underlapping run? When he makes this underlapping run, there needs to be explicit communication between the centre backs inside and then the outside centre back to deal with them. This is exactly how Manchester City killed Manchester United when they sat in their mid and low blocks. Bernardo Silva makes the darting run inside. First of all, it's Jack Grealish. Makes the darting run with the ball. Bernardo runs off and gives the ball here. Now, they know that every time the ball gets to this point, there's easy deal for Chelsea to, when they cut back over it. Chelsea are excellent enough to cut the balls from here and prevent Haaland from getting to it on the ground. So that is one of the reasons why I don't think that Marco Correa is my man. I would want Levi Cole. He's a natural defender in these areas. When the ball is raised up top, because when they go, they're always going to target the far post. If the ball is raised up top to Erling Braut Haaland, you have Levi Cole, who is brilliant in dealing with those balls, who can get and deal with those aerial duels in there and then get the job done in there. It's the little dynamics of the game. When Man City are with the ball, building with a three, one of the things they can also do very well is the two centre-backs to split. Ederson can come inside and play as a makeshift centre-back so that they can have an extra man in midfield. While they still have the three in build-up, then they are definitely obviously going to use the build-up, the first phase build-up of Rodri. Mind you, every time when Manchester City have pushed Chelsea to go into a settled block in here, they are going to have a lot of men. They are going to have Rodri, Mateo Kovacic. They are going to have Bernardo Silva. They are going to have either Jack Grealish in these areas before Erling Braut Haaland. Now, I believe that when Man City go into a 4-3-3 like this, and in the 4-3-3, that is going to be a nominal formation, like this. The 3 is here against Chelsea's 3, and then the midfield 3 is here. Now, that is nominal. It is essentially going to be Bernardo Silva coming in here. So in the final phase, it becomes something like this, and one person from the back four will invert into the middle of the pack. Excellent. Now, one of the biggest things of the game is that Chelsea will try and go 1v1 in terms of press everywhere across the field of play. Chelsea will try and press Manchester City 1v1 like this, and you're going to see like this. Now, this is the part of the game that is essentially going to maybe lead to a winner when the game is still stalemate, going very far into the game. And I'm thinking that it is going to be the battle between either of Axel Disasi and Thiago Silva. As a Chelsea fan, you get to be worried because Haaland is a physical monster against Thiago Silva, who is aging and lacks the pace. Same for Axel Disasi, who I haven't seen win physical duels in a very long time. He lost it against Luis Diaz. Erling Braut Haaland is a different level physical specimen. When Chelsea try to go man for man like this, this is exactly how the game is going to pan out. And Haaland will be found from the long balls. Then Bernardo Silva, Rodri, Kovacic, whoever will pick those loose balls around him and then play forward for him to run in behind. The final part of the conversation of how the game will probably be won and lost is how Chelsea are going to implement their mid-central blockade. Very, very, very important. Without the ball, we've seen Man City coming like this. It becomes a 3 like this, 2, and then a 5. So 5, there are 5 zones of the football field: the outside, left-hand space, central area, right-hand space, and then outside on the right. Now they cover all of these areas. You have your 4 at the back. Let's see one winger comes back to come and deal with it. You have an extra man in here. Now the problem with Chelsea is that you don't even need to deal with the extra winger in here. You just need central blockade for them not to come here, especially in a diamond shape sort of. Once you do this thing, this midfielder, especially in Moise Caicedo, has to be doing this shuffling back and in, depending on the runs of Bernardo Silva. It is going to be very, very important for Chelsea and for them in terms of the game dynamics and how they're going to win this game. This game is going to be hugely tactical. This is Fiifi-Manfred. If you're not subscribed, do what to subscribe. Yes, that's exactly how the game state is going to look like.